Have you ever thought about moving to the Green Mountain State, thinking about retirement, or just living in Vermont? Probably not a bad idea for a lot of us. Data shows that Vermont has seen an influx of new residents since the pandemic started about 2 years ago. Out of nowhere, this quiet New England state got popular. According to the United Van Lines Movers study, Vermont was the top dog with the highest share of inbound moves. Basically, they look at all 50 states and kind of break it down to, for every 100 moves, how many moved in versus how many moved out. And in Vermont's case, it was 74.3 moved in for 25.7 moving out. The lowest on that list was New Jersey, and they're almost the exact opposite, with 71 people moving out for every 29 that moved in. Is it the most exact study? No, but does it give you an idea what's going on in a state? Absolutely. So in case you're one of those people thinking about giving Vermont a go, here's 10 things you should know before you go. Number 10. It's very rural. You don't get much more rural than Vermont. I mean, they're ranked 49th when it comes to population. The only state that has fewer people is Wyoming, and Wyoming has a reputation for being a great place for people that don't like other people. Don't like neighbors? Move to Wyoming. Trying to avoid a stalker ex-girlfriend or boyfriend? Move to Wyoming. If those things sound very appealing, but you prefer maple syrup over beef jerky, move to Vermont. Vermont only has 643,000 residents. In 2020, their rural population was 60%. Rural land by area is 98% of the state. They don't have any big cities. They barely have any medium cities. It is filled with cute little rural towns. Number 9, the great outdoors. Vermont has a lot of outdoor activities. That's one of the best parts of this being such a rural state. It's an outdoor lover's paradise. It is one of the best states for hiking, mountain biking, camping, fishing. Their snowboarding and skiing is legendary. So much so, it's a pretty good size industry for this small state. Winter tourism in Vermont is insane. If you're not into being in the outdoors, both winter or summer, Vermont might not be the best state for you because one of its best features will probably be kind of lost on you. For those of you that like to be outdoors, but maybe you're not into hiking or snowboarding, things like that, gardening in the summer and spring is amazing in this state. It's just too bad winters seem to go on forever here. Number 8, cost of living. Vermont's not the cheapest state to call home. Vermont is actually the 10th most expensive state in the country. Overall, the cost of living is 17% higher than the national average. Vermont has the nation's 8th highest housing costs on top of that. Most of New England tends to be a little expensive. Vermont's just a little bit of a step up. I mean, they have some great things that make it a very appealing state, and when it's very appealing, it costs a little bit more. And with Vermont's popularity, I'm sure in the coming years, their cost of living is going to go up a little bit more, probably a little bit faster than most other states. Number 7, they get into their politics. That's right, Vermont likes their politics, and they're not afraid to discuss it. This is one of the most openly political states there is. And it's on every level. I mean, state, local, federal, they get into all of it here. Some years back when Bernie Sanders was running for office, this reporter for I don't know what station, he was going to different places in different states talking to people about the candidates, and he actually said in Vermont, they're willing to discuss politics with you, and they seem to be less inclined to getting aggravated or getting angry at the conversation. They're willing to openly discuss it with you in a civil manner. That was his experience, so I don't know. I'm sure everyone has their own different experience, and we're going to see it in the comment section, I promise you. Number 6, a strange economy. There are parts of Vermont that are doing really well. People are making good money and thriving. Yet there's some parts of the state that are still struggling, and a lot of those counties are still trying to recover from the opioid crisis. They were hit really hard. On top of that, a lot of the industries in Vermont are seasonal. That leads to a lot of things like someone has to have a second job during the winter months or during the summer months if they're working winter jobs, so on and so forth. You have a lot of people coming from out of state to say work the ski slopes, for example. So it's probably best to be a remote worker or have a job lined up before you move there, or you're retired and you don't really need a job. Vermont has all the typical industries, agriculture being one of their biggest one, but it only accounts for 2.2% of Vermont's GDP, and only about 3% of the population works in agriculture. They don't have a lot of manufacturing or mining. They do have some forestry, but it really only accounts for about 1% of the economy. Tourism, on the other hand, contributes almost 8% to Vermont's GDP. And like I said, a lot of that is seasonal. But the jobs they do have pay a little bit better than most states on average. It has one of the highest average incomes in the country. Number 5, the seasons. Winters, like we know, can be pretty harsh in Vermont. It's not just cold, it's not just snowy. Everything is muddy, and it's kind of gross a lot of the times. Sure, ski resorts and stuff like that are beautiful, they're wonderful, but the average Joe has to slosh through that a good portion of the year. But the thing is, fall kind of makes up for it. If California and Florida shine during the summer, fall is where Vermont shines. It is absolutely beautiful. In the United States, people always say there's things you have to see, like the Grand Canyon, the West Coast, the Empire State Building, the Golden Gate Bridge, El Capitan in Yosemite, Old Faithful, the Rocky Mountains, the Great Smoky Mountains. Everyone always tells you to see those, but one that's often left off those lists is the changing of the leaves in Vermont. Now, this also happens in Maine, New Hampshire, and other New England places, but in my opinion, Vermont edges the other New England states out. Obviously, this is a seasonal thing, and there's no real perfect time to get there to see it, but the color change begins in mid-September and runs through the first 2 or 3 weeks of October. So you got about a 4 or 5 week window to catch this. I did it years ago. There is a really cool Amtrak train called the Vermonter. We took it from Philadelphia all the way up to Montpelier, and it was beautiful. The only real bummer was it was kind of dark when we got to Montpelier, so we missed a lot of it because of no sunlight. Number 4, taxes. Yeah, they really stick it to you in Vermont. There's no escaping it here. If you're coming from someplace where they've got a really low tax rate, you may have sticker shock when you get your first paycheck in Vermont. It's kind of rough. Vermont has some of the nation's highest income taxes. Really, most of the northeastern states do. So that's why I say if you're coming from someplace like Texas or something that has a really low tax rate, you may fall over. Just be prepared for that. They got some taxes. Number 3. It's not very diverse. If you didn't know, Vermont is a very white state. Actually, they're the whitest state we have. Prior to the 2020 census, they were the second whitest behind Maine. Right now, Vermont's population is 95.6% Caucasian, or white, whatever you want to call it. Vermont is ranked 48th for cultural diversity and 47th for religious diversity. Number 2. It's very liberal. This is a no-brainer. Everybody knows that follows politics that Vermont is a very liberal state. Every election cycle it plays king of the liberal hill with California, Oregon, and other New England states. Right now they're considered the third most liberal state with 34% of the voters identifying as liberal. Only 25% of the voters identify as conservative. In the 2020 presidential election, they really went big for Democrats. 66.09% of the voters voted for Joe Biden, and only 30.67 voted for President Trump. The whole liberal thing is kind of new to Vermont. In reality, they've always been a Republican state until 1988. Actually, from 1856 to 1988, they voted for the Republican candidate all but one election, and that was Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964. Now, I don't think politics should ever be a reason to or not to move to a place. That's just me, but I know it's important to some people. That's why it's included here. This is something that's important to you? Now you know. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There is a link down below. We'd love it if you went over there and subscribed. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, it's gun friendly. Yes, that is a shocker to most people that aren't from that part of the country. Vermont is a very gun-friendly state. Now, I know a lot of you that get into politics and you buy into all that stuff. You know liberals, they don't like guns and they're a bunch of whatever, this, that, whatever they tell you to think on whatever you're watching. Yeah, that's not really a thing. 2 of the most gun-friendly states in the Union are 2 of the most liberal states, Oregon and Vermont. Vermont does not issue or require carry permits. It does not require purchase permits or registration. However, Vermont does require gun sales only through licensed dealers unless the sale is to a family member. Open carry is allowed in Vermont, but Vermont does put restrictions on magazine sizes. So just some quick facts on that. Those things change all the time. Matter of fact, I'm recording this a week or 2 before I upload it, so something could change by the time it actually gets uploaded. Who knows? Now, this is on here because that's important to some people, that they can, have their guns, they believe in the Second Amendment, all that good stuff. And then there's some people that this may turn them off. Everyone's different, and that's okay. Now, obviously, different counties and different cities may have their own rules, but these are the rules of the state. Now, I should mention this, that there's 2 laws basically that they follow when you go to court. Maybe you shot someone or something like that. The Castle Doctrine and Stand Your Ground. They're similar in a lot of ways, but they're also a little bit different. Vermont does not have a Castle Doctrine or a Stand Your Ground law, but courts have consistently ruled that there's no duty to retreat if someone enters your house or if you're attacked in your home. Some states say that if you have the opportunity to leave, you have to, and you can only shoot someone if your life is in danger. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. If you think there's something else people need to know before they move to Vermont, I'd love to hear about it in the comment section. Also, if you want to see more of these videos, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and tell me which state you'd like to see next. All right, everyone, have a great day. Be nice to each other.